Men, I want to talk with you today about something that makes us look completely wimpy and makes us totally superficial and completely irrational. And those are all attributes that are not becoming of a true man. Now, the problem is, before I get into the solution, is that everybody has social media, everybody has an outlet, everybody has a platform and access to somewhere where they can actually voice their opinions. In addition to that, political correctness is all the rage. And so I want to talk with you today about something that I think every single man needs to hear. Are you ready? Stop being so damn offended! Alright guys, so we're going to talk about three different things today. The very first thing that we're going to address is why you need to stop taking offense in the first place. The next thing that we're going to cover is 3 reasons that we as men do take offense to certain things. And the very last thing that we're going to cover is 3 ways that you can overcome getting offended in your life. Now, the very first reason that you should not take offense in your life is because you might actually learn something. If you focused more on criticism that was received and you focused on how to turn that information into knowledge and how to become better, can you imagine how far ahead you'd be? But instead of focusing on what we can learn, we naturally jump to being defensive. We naturally jump to why that person's wrong and trying to prove that person wrong, and we're focusing on the negative rather than focusing on the positive, which is that there might be a learning opportunity and you just might advance yourself in some specific area that you're covering. Now, the second reason that you should not take offense is because it automatically puts us on the defensive. And when we're on the defensive, we're just not as productive. We look like wimps, we complain, we whine, we gripe, we moan. Rather than being on the defensive, we always want to be on the offensive in life, and we want to be moving ahead and moving forward. But when we're defending ourselves, we're so focused on what we can do to make ourselves look better, and we come from this place of arrogance that we can no longer move forward in our life, and that becomes a challenge for us. So it puts us on the defensive. Now, the third reason that we do not want to get offended in our life is because we will begin to make irrational decisions. Now, the problem is when people make comments to us or give us feedback, if we take that information to heart and we become defensive about it and we become negative about it, then we start making decisions based on that. But the problem is you have your own direction, or at least you should have your own direction of how you want your life to be. But if you start looking at things and you start seeing how people are responding to what you're doing, you're going to make your life decisions based on what they say and what they feel rather than the way you feel, and rather than the way that you want your life to go and move forward. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is the reasons that we actually take offense in the first place. The very first reason that I can think of as why we take offense is that we're insecure. Human beings are insecure. We're irrational, we're emotional, we're insecure, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is right, not only for us, but in the eyes of those we care about. But more importantly, when it comes to taking offense, we actually want to do what's right in the eyes of those we don't care about. And I fall into this trap as well. And so it's all a matter of being insecure. What we've got to do is figure out and get clear about what we want in our life so that when we make decisions, it doesn't matter what other people say and it doesn't matter the way other people react, because we're so confident in what we're doing that it doesn't even affect or impact our ability to move forward. Now, the second reason that we as men, that you and I take offense, is because we're not doing what we should be doing. Maybe we feel guilty about what it is our conduct is doing or our behavior. Maybe it's because what you're doing in life, whether it's a career or with family, is not what you should be doing. And so we've got to get very clear about what it is that we want, what is it what we should be doing, because when somebody naturally and inevitably comes out of the woodworks to tell us how we're doing it wrong or how we should be doing it better, it's not really going to matter if we're doing the right things. But if we're doing the wrong things, those have the ability to stop our progress and our momentum dead in their tracks because we feel like we've been caught with our pants down. And that's the problem, is that you're not doing the right things. Now, the third reason that you might take offense is because you're an idiot. Now, if that offends you, refer back to number 1 and number 2 about why we take offense. I'm not saying that you're not intellectually smart, but sometimes when we take offense, we are letting other people dictate our lives. And if those people are dumb and we're basing our decisions off what those people are saying, what does that make us? It makes us just as guilty, just as bad, just as idiotic, or just as crazy as the people that are actually giving us that criticism in the first place. So be smart, be very clear about what you want, and be intelligent about the way that you handle and approach criticism so as not to get offended. Alright guys, so now that we've talked a little bit about why you shouldn't get offended, and we've talked a little bit about why we do get offended, let's talk about the reasons or the ways that we can overcome being offended. The very first way that we can overcome being offended is, number 1, to consider the source. Is the source credible? Is the source reputable? Because if the source is credible and reputable, then I want to refer back to where I said, take that information and learn from it. Use that knowledge, use that information. It may have been delivered poorly, but nonetheless, it can be used as a tool and a measurement of your success if you you only take that information and you implement it in your life. Now, on the other hand, if that source is not credible, if it's not reputable, or if it's just not good advice, then no big deal. Don't take it, but consider the source. If it's good, implement it. If it's bad, ignore it. The second way that we can overcome being offended is to put down your devices. Put down your phone, put down the iPad, put away the TV, turn the TV off, do whatever you have to do to get out of the sources or out of the places where you're actually receiving criticism and feedback. I know that's where I get hung up, is when I'm on my Facebook page and I'm looking and I'm seeing how people are responding to a podcast or even this video. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive, and sometimes I just have to tune it out. So if you can learn to ignore some of those criticisms, especially if they're not reputable criticisms, then that's going to be a little bit more advantageous in your life, and you'll be able to overcome and not be so easily offended when it comes to the criticism that you're receiving. Now, the third way to overcome criticism is to get grounded in who you are and what you want to be doing. That is the number one reason that I think people get offended, is because they feel guilty about where they are in their life. And the only reason that they feel guilty about where they are in their life is because they're not where they want to be. And the reason they're not where they want to be is because they have no idea where it is they want to go. They have a challenge when it comes to getting clear, crystal clear about their goals and their priorities. What is it that you want to be doing as a way of business? How do you want to behave around your family? What do you want to be doing in the community? And if you don't have a clear answer to all those things, then people are going to start coming out of the woodworks, picking you apart, and because you're not clear about what you want, they're going to distract you. They're going to keep you from being focused on those priorities, and they're going to make you second guess yourself. And that's a huge, huge problem when it comes to being offended. All right, guys, so there you have it. We talked about 3 reasons that you should not be offended. We talked about 3 reasons that you and I do get offended. And then the last thing we talked about is 3 ways to overcome offense. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some clarity. I hope that next time somebody posts something dumb on Facebook or wherever it may be, you look at it and you look at it critically. Is this something that can help me, or is this something I should ignore? Because if we can remove this plague of being offended all the time and focus on what we know is important and take criticism as it's meant, most of the time I think it's there to be helpful. But if we can take that information and we can use it as a tool to enhance our lives, we will become the men we were meant to be.